The bottle shattered against the brick wall inches from Grayson's head, shards exploding like brittle stars in the humid Nashville night. "Faggot thinks he can prance around here with that fairy pin like it's a goddamn badge of honor," the cop snarled, his breath reeking of cheap whiskey and unchecked rage. Boot grinding the rainbow enamel into the pavement. Grayson froze, heart slamming against his ribs. As the second officer laughed, a guttural bark that echoed off the alley walls, until a gravelly voice cut through the haze like a knife through fog. "Touch him again, and I'll bury you both so deep your badges won't even remember your names." Grayson Ellis had always known Nashville's underbelly like the scars on his knuckles, rough edges honed from too many bar shifts slinging whiskey sours to tourists who romanticized the city's neon glow without tasting its bite. At 28, he was a fixture at the Bluebird, a dive on the edge of East Nashville where the country crooners gave way to queer anthems after midnight. His rainbow pin wasn't just flair, it was armor, pinned to his threadbare flannel the day he'd buried his mom. 6 years back, her final whisper a ragged, "Be proud," baby boy that still haunted his dreams. Tonight, though, that armor felt paper-thin as he stumbled out the back door. The weight of another shift and another ghost of a lover pressing him into the shadows. He'd been texting Alex all evening. Kind of frantic, half-drunk messages that started with, "Miss you," and devolved into, "Why'd you leave, Alex?" With his easy California smile and promises of forever, had ghosted him 2 weeks ago after Grayson suggested they move in together. "It's too fast, Gray," the last text read, followed by radio silence that screamed louder than any fight. Grayson had laughed it off at the bar, charming tips out of a bachelorette party with tales of his ex who couldn't handle the heat, but alone in the alley, the ache bloomed fresh. He lit a cigarette, the flame flickering against his stubble, when the patrol car rolled up uninvited, its lights slicing the dark like accusations. "You got a problem out here, son?" The first cop, barrel-chested, mustache twitching like a live wire, stepped out, eyes narrowing on the pin as Grayson exhaled smoke. Grayson straightened, forcing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Just cooling off. There's a long night, but the second one, younger, with a buzz cut and a smirk that said he'd aced the academy's bully track. Zeroed in. Cooling off from what? Recruiting in the shadows. They closed in. A casual blockade. And Grayson's pulse spiked, not fear. Not yet. But the bone-deep weariness of explaining his skin in a city that preached Music City, but whispered Straight City behind closed doors. It escalated fast. The way these things do in the South, a shift, the slur. The bottle from the cop's hand meant to warn, not wound. Grayson dodged, glass raining, and that's when the voice boomed from the alley's mouth, a silhouette emerging from the fog of his own cigarette smoke. Broad-shouldered and unyielding, like a storm cloud given form. The cops wheeled, hands twitching toward holsters, but the man didn't flinch. He was in his late 50s, salt and pepper hair cropped military short, face weathered like old leather, eyes the color of gunmetal under the street lamp. His jacket hung loose over a frame that screamed discipline. Faded tattoos peeking from cuffs, eagles, duck eggs, ghosts of tours in deserts Grayson only knew from CNN. "He's my son," the man said, voice steady as a drill sergeant's cadence, stepping forward to plant himself between Grayson and the badges. The words landed like a gut punch, stealing Grayson's breath. That, after 12 years of silence, of postcards from bases in God knows where that stopped coming after the divorce, the cops faltered, Mustachman sputtering. Son? This pansy-ass kid? But the stranger, Jack Ellis? Though Grayson hadn't uttered that name in a decade, didn't rise to the bait. He squared up. 6'3" of retired special forces radiating the kind of quiet menace that made rookies piss themselves. Sergeant Major Jack Ellis. U.S. Army Rangers. Retired. And yeah, that's my boy. You want to explain to IA why you're assaulting a civilian over a fucking pin? Or are we doing this the hard way? The alley went still. The cops' bravado evaporating like morning dew under a boot heel. They muttered apologies. Beat a retreat to their cruiser. Tires squealing into the night. Grayson sagged against the wall. Cigarette forgotten? Ash crumbling between numb fingers. Jack turned. Slow. Like he was handling ordnance. And for the first time in forever, Grayson saw the cracks in the armor, lines etched deep around those eyes. A tremor in the hand reaching out. Gray, Jack murmured. The nickname a relic from fishing trips and bedtime stories. Before the deployments. Before the fights. Before Mom's cancer and the letter Grayson wrote at 16. Spilling his truth onto notebook paper that Jack never acknowledged. Dad. Grayson's voice cracked. A whisper swallowed by the humid air. Jack nodded. Once. And pulled him into a hug that smelled of aftershave and regret, fierce. Unyielding. The kind of embrace that said apologies were for civilians. They stood like that until the bar's back door banged open. A drunk stumbling out for air. Shattering the moment. Come on, Jack said. Releasing him but not letting go entirely. Guiding Grayson toward a battered Ford pickup idling at the curb. We got talking to do. And coffee. But no sugar, still your poison? The drive was a blur of taillights and rain-slicked streets. Nashville's skyline blurring into the rearview as they headed west toward Jack's motel on the outskirts. A no-frills Super 8 where the neon sign flickered, Vancey, like a bad omen. Grayson stole glances at his father. The man who'd vanished after the divorce. Chasing ghosts in Afghanistan while Mom withered away in a double-wide. Chemo bills piling like unpaid sins. Jack had sent money. Sure, wire transfers with no notes, but never a call. Never a flight home. And that letter? The one where Grayson confessed his love for Tommy from the swim team. The terror of it all? Crickets. Silence louder than any explosion Jack had dodged overseas. Inside the room, the air was stale with instant coffee and regret. Jack poured 2 mugs from a Mr. Coffee machine that wheezed like an old man, handing one over with a nod. Grayson sank onto the sagging bed, the pin glinting mockingly in the lamplight. Why now? He asked. Voice raw. 12 years. Mom died thinkin' you were still out there saving the world. And me? I figured you were dead or ashamed. Mostly ashamed. Jack winced. Settling into the vinyl chair. Elbows on knees like he was briefing a squad. I ain't ashamed. Never was. That letter. I got it in Kandahar. Middle of a sandstorm op. Read it twice. Burn the edges, 'cause my hands were shakin'. Thought I was protectin' you by stayin' away. Army life. The questions. The bullshit. Your mom. She told me to come home. But I was a coward. Buried boys younger than you over there. Couldn't bury my own mistakes too. Grayson laughed. Bitter. The sound scraping his throat. Protectin' me? From what? Lovin' who I love? Alex just bailed, 'cause he said I was too much, too emotional, too needy. And you? You built this. What? Feelin' something real scares the special forces right out of you? Jack's face hardened, then softened. A rare fracture in the stone. He reached into his duffel, pulling out a dog-eared photo, Grayson at 18. Prom night. Arm around Tommy. Both in ill-fitting tuxes. Grins wide as the Tennessee River. Kept this. Every bunker. Every foxhole. You think I didn't fight my own wars? Came out to my CO in 98, got the nod. But the whispers? They follow you like shrapnel. Lost buddies to it? Good men who hid and broke. The confession hung heavy. A bridge Grayson wasn't sure he wanted to cross. They talked till dawn cracked the blinds, about Mom's laugh. The bass runs Jack taught him on a pawnshop guitar. The deployments that stole more than time. Grayson spilled about Alex. The bar life. The hookups that filled the voids but never patched them. Jack listened. Really listened. His silences not cold but weighted. Like he was memorizing every word for a mission log. By sunrise, the motel room felt less like a tomb and more like neutral ground. Tentative truces in the air. But Nashville had a way of dredging up the past like mud after a flood. 2 days later, Grayson was back at the Bluebird, slinging drinks to a rowdy Friday crowd, the rainbow pin polished like a talisman. Jack had stuck around, crashing on Grayson's couch in his cramped apartment above a tattoo parlor, beer and bad TV forging a fragile rhythm. Dinner tonight, Jack grunted that morning, slapping cash on the counter for groceries. Steak. My treat. None of that vegan hipster shit. Grayson rolled his eyes. But the warmth lingered. A spark he hadn't felt since Mom's hugs. The shift was winding down when Alex walked in, unannounced, unapologetic, golden hair tousled like he'd stepped off a surfboard. Not a red-eye from L.A. Gray, he said, sliding onto a stool. That smile disarming as ever. Heard you had a rough night. Cups? Jesus. Grayson froze mid-pour. Bourbon sloshing over the rim. Word traveled fast in their circles. Bartenders were worse than cops for gossip. What do you want? Alex? Closure? Or just slumming it before your next gig? Alex leaned in, eyes earnest. I fucked up. Panicked. But seeing you like that. I miss us. Come back to California with me. Real start. Heart in his throat. Grayson wavered, the old pull. The romance of sunsets and stolen kisses in Griffith Park. But then Jack's truck rumbled into the lot outside. Headlights cutting through the fogged windows. Alex clocked it. Smirk fading. Who's the old guy? Your landlord. Grayson straightened, wiping the bar with deliberate strokes. My dad. Back from the dead. Alex's laugh was sharp, disbelieving. The MIA soldier? After all this time? Great. That's convenient. You sure he's not just playing hero to get in your pants? Wait. That's not. The words died as Grayson vaulted the bar. Fist connecting with Alex's jaw in a crack that silenced the room. Security hauled Alex out, bloodied lip and all, muttering crazy bitch under his breath. Grayson slumped against the cooler, knuckles throbbing, the pin digging into his chest like a thorn. Betrayal wasn't just Alex's ghosting, it was the poison he still carried. The doubt he'd planted. When Jack burst in minutes later, steak knives and grocery bags in hand, he took one look and dropped everything. What the hell happened? Grayson spilled it, Alex's return. The slur slipping out like it was nothing. The rage that boiled over. Jack's jaw clenched. But he didn't judge. Instead, he wrapped Grayson in a bear hug, murmuring, "You fight for yours, son." Always have. That night, over charred steaks on the fire escape, Nashville's skyline twinkling like forgiving stars, they cracked open the wounds. Jack admitted the divorce wasn't just the army. He'd cheated once. Early on. With a medic in basic. The guilt festering into distance. Thought leaving was mercy, he said. Voice gravel. But it was cowardice. And you? Lovin' like you do. Fierce and open? That's braver than any op I ran. Grayson nodded. Tears hot on his cheeks. The pin catching the moonlight. For the first time, father and son saw each other, not as ghosts, but as men scarred by the same wars, loves. Us. The quiet ones fought alone. Weeks blurred into a rhythm Grayson hadn't known he craved. Jack stuck around, taking odd jobs, security at a honky-tonk, teaching self-defense to wide-eyed vets at the VA. Mornings were coffee and crosswords. Jack's gruff, 7 letters. Regret starts with arm, drawing Grayson's laughter. Evenings. They'd hit the Cumberland River Trail. Jack's limp from an old IED more pronounced in the chill. Grayson matching his stride. Tell me about him, Jack said one dusk, nodding at the pin. Grayson hesitated, then let it flow. Tommy's first kiss behind the bleachers. The heartbreak of college goodbyes. Alex's whirlwind that crashed like a bad country ballad. Jack absorbed it. No sermons. Just a quiet proud of you. For wearing it. For being it. Romance crept back in sideways. Through Eli, a regular at the Bluebird. Lanky carpenter with ink-sleeved arms and a laugh like summer thunder. Eli had caught Grayson's eye months back. Nursing a PBR after a shift. Sketching blueprints on napkins. Buildin' dreams, he'd quip. Hazel eyes twinkling. Post Alex. Grayson kept distance. But Jack nudged, life's too short for what's. Son. I learned that the hard way. One rainy Tuesday. Eli lingered after close. Helping stack chairs. Heard about your dad, he said softly. Rain pattering the tin roof. Sounds like a hell of a story. Grayson shrugged. But Eli's hand brushed his, a spark. Tentative. Mine too. Dad's a preacher in Memphis. Let's just say sermons on love thy neighbor don't always include the Rainbow Brigade. Their first date was burgers at a hole-in-the-wall on Broadway. Jack's approving grunt over text, vet my pick if you want. But he's got good hands, easing the nerves. Eli kissed him goodnight under the marquee lights. Slow and sure. Tasting of ketchup and possibility. Grayson floated home. The apartment alive with Jack's snores from the couch. The pin on his nightstand a beacon. For the first time, love felt like building, not bracing for the fall. But Nashville's undercurrents run deep, and betrayal brews in the shallows. It hit on a crisp October Saturday, the city pulsing with harvest fests and football fever. Grayson and Eli were at a block party in East Nashville, booths slinging funnel cakes. A bluegrass band twanging under strung lights, when the cops from the alley sauntered up. Off-duty but unmistakable. Beers in hand. Well, if it ain't the Rainbow Ranger and his fairy godfather, Mustache Man sneered. Buzzcut chuckling beside him. Manning a grill nearby with Grayson. Froze mid-flip. spatula gripped like a bayonet. Grayson tensed, Eli's hand tightening on his waist. But Jack stepped forward, calm as a loaded chamber. "Evening, officers." "Burgers." It was deflection. Pure special forces, de-escalate. But Buzzcut wasn't having it. "Nah. We came for a chat. Heard your boy's been stirring shit." That punch on his ex? Assault charges brewin'. "And you, retired hero playin' house with the queer kid? What's the army think of that?" The words landed like mines, whispers rippling through the crowd. Grayson paled. "Alex. Of course." The ghosting wasn't enough. He'd twisted the bar fight into a vendetta, filing a report laced with lies. Jack's face went granite, but his voice stayed level. "You boys forgettin' who I am? I got friends in high places, Pentagon brass who owe me favors. But this? Harrison my son over who he loves? That's a line you don't uncross." The cops laughed, but it rang hollow, eyes darting as a phone buzzed. "Kicks. No doubt. A quick text to old contacts." Buzzcut pressed. "Your son's a liability, Ellis. Pin like that? It's a skin for trouble. We could make it all go away if you convince him to tone it down." The ultimatum hung, venomous. Grayson surged forward, pin blazing under the lights. "Tone it down? Like you did with that bottle? Fuck you both." Eli pulled him back. But the damage was done. Fists flew, a melee erupting as partygoers scattered. Jack waded in, taking a swing that dropped Mustache Man cold, his own lips splitting on Buzzcut's elbow. Sirens wailed distant, the night fracturing into chaos. Grayson dragged Jack away, Eli hauling the cooler as cover, hearts pounding in sync. In the aftermath, holed up at Grayson's apartment with ice packs and takeout, the betrayal sank claws deep. Alex's play wasn't just petty, it was calculated, a final twist of the knife born from jealousy and the city's undercurrent of hate. He knew about the cops, Grayson seethed, pacing the linoleum. "Used them like pawns." Eli nodded, bandaging Jack's knuckles, his touch steadying. "But you're not alone." "Not anymore." Bruised but unbroken, met his son's eyes. "I taught you to fight fair, but life's a dirty op. Those badges? They'll pay." I called in markers, IA's sniffin' already. The climax brewed over the next week, a storm front rolling in from the Smokies. Grayson couldn't sleep, the pin a weight on his chest, dreams tangled with Alex's smile morphing into sneers, Jack's deployments bleeding into alley shards. Eli stayed over, their nights a tangle of whispers and limbs, romance raw and real, his carpenter's hands mapping Grayson's scars like blueprints for a safer world. "Build with me," Eli murmured one dawn, fingers tracing the pin. Not despite, but because. Grayson clung to it, the humanistic thread weaving through the hurt, love as rebellion, family as choice. Jack's pull came through Friday, a meeting at the precinct. No lawyers, just truth. Grayson walked in flanked by his father and Eli, the rainbow pin defiant on his collar. "The captain?" A wearied vet with Jack's old unit patch on his desk laid it out, the cops' histories, prior complaints, a pattern of zeal, and Alex's affidavit crumbling under scrutiny, his own bar fight bruises telling a different tale. "Dismissed," the captain said, voice flat. "But Ellis, Sr., You know this town's changin'. Slow, but changin'. Your boy's part of that, said. Rain sheeting the steps. Jack clapped Grayson's shoulder. You did the hard part, son. Standin' tall. But the victory tasted bittersweet. Betrayal's echo lingered. A reminder that progress was paved with personal pyres. Alex vanished again. This time for good. A ghost exorcised. The cops? Reassigned. Whispers of internal affairs shadowing their shifts. Grayson didn't gloat, he grieved the what-ifs. The America that still mocked pins before embracing suns. Months later. Spring thawing Nashville's bones. Grayson stood on the fire escape with Jack and Eli, grilling ribs as the city hummed below. The pin gleamed. No longer armor but emblem, a story etched in enamel. Jack raised a beer. Eyes misty. To family. The ones we choose. The ones we fight for. Eli leaned into Grayson. Kiss soft against his temple. In that moment, the drama faded to quiet grace, a retired warrior, a lover's hand, a son's unbowed heart. Not perfect, not painless, but human, fiercely so. And in America's patchwork soul, that was redemption enough. The summer heat clung to Nashville like a bad habit, turning the asphalt into a skillet and Grayson's shifts at the Bluebird into sweat-soaked marathons. With the cops' shadows lifted and Alex's specter banished, life settled into a groove that felt dangerously close to normal. Jack had rented a cheap bungalow in Inglewood, a shotgun house with creaky floors and a porch swing that groaned under his weight. Temporary, he'd grunt when Grayson ribbed him, but the garden he'd started, stubborn tomatoes pushing through clay, said otherwise. Eli's crew was framing a new queer youth center downtown. Blueprints spread across their kitchen table like love letters to the future. And Grayson? He wore the pin daily. Its rainbow a quiet fuck you to the world. A nod to the boy who'd once hidden crushes in comic books. But normalcy was a fragile truce. And Nashville's pulse quickened with Pride's season approaching. The city decked itself in flags and floats. But beneath the glitter lurked the grit, the protests from fringe groups. The cops who'd learned to smile for cameras but seethe in alleys. Grayson volunteered for the parade committee, organizing floats with Eli's carpentry crew building backdrops of glittered plywood hearts. Jack tagged along to the first meeting, hulking in a folding chair amid 20-somethings with dyed hair and pronouns pinned to vests. What's a non-binary? He muttered to Grayson post-meeting. Brow furrowed. Grayson chuckled, clapping his shoulder. Someone fightin' the same war we all are. Just with different ammo. Eli and Grayson's romance deepened in stolen pockets. Lazy Sundays at Percy Warner Park. Picnics under dogwoods where Eli sketched Grayson's profile, capturing the curve of his jaw, the spark in his eyes. You're my muse, Eli teased. But his touches lingered. Reverent? Turning picnics into preludes. Their first real fight came over it, Grayson pulling away after a nightmare. Alex's betrayal replaying in dreams of shattered glass. I'm not him, Eli said, hurt etching his face. But I can't build if you keep tearin' down the foundation. Grayson apologized with a weekend getaway to Gatlinburg. Cabins and moonshine. Where they rebuilt in whispers and rain. Love's drama yielding to its quiet poetry. Jack watched it unfold with a father's wary eye. But approval softened his edges. One evening, over poker on the porch, cigars curling smoke like secrets, he cornered Grayson. Kid's solid. Treats you right? But don't let the fairy tale blind you to the real. Grayson dealt another hand, smirking. Says the guy who wrote the book on runnin' from real. Jack's laugh rumbled. Rare and warm. Touché. But I mean it, love's a battlefield. Seen too many brothers lose limbs to it. The words hung, paternal and profound, a humanistic anchor in the romance's swell. Yet conflict simmered, betrayal's embers not fully cold. It ignited at the VA support group Jack dragged Grayson to. For perspective, he'd said, a circle of vets in a church basement, sharing ghosts over weak coffee. Grayson sat silent at first, pin drawing sidelong glances. But when a grizzled Marine spat, "Don't need no rainbow agenda ruinin' our brotherhood," the room tensed. Jack's hand clamped Grayson's knee. But Grayson stood, voice steady. Agenda? This, he tapped the pin, is me. Same as your ink. Your limp. We all fought hide in some. The Marine, face scarred like cracked earth, met his gaze, then nodded. Slow. Fair. Lost my boy to AIDS in '92. Never said the words. Regrets a bitch. The circle shifted. Stories spilling. Hidden loves. Dishonorable discharges veiled as conduct. The armies don't ask ghosts. Jack spoke last. Voice gravel. My son's braver than I ever was. Came out to me young, I buried it in sand. Lost years. Don't make my mistakes. Eyes on Grayson. Pride raw. Driving home. Rain lashing the windshield. Grayson broke. Why'd you really come back? That? Guilt? Or, 'cause you finally get it? Jack gripped the wheel. Knuckles white. Both. And more. Cancer scare last year, prostate. Doc said beat it, but it hit like a frag. Made me see. You're all I got left. And I almost lost you twice, once by leavin', once by not fightin'. Confession's weight settled. Father-son bond forging in vulnerability's fire. Pride weekend dawned electric. Nashville swelling with out-of-towners. The parade route a river of color down Broadway. Grayson marched mid-pack, Eli's hand in his. Jack trailing in fatigues repurposed with a subtle rainbow patch on the sleeve. For you, kid. The crowd roared. But so did the counter-protesters. Bullhorns blaring scripture from the sidelines. Grayson waved, pin flashing, until a bottle arced from the fringes, echo of that alley night, shattering at his feet. Chaos rippled, marchers faltering. But Jack surged forward, body a shield. Stay back, he bellowed, voice cutting the din, as security swarmed. In the melee, betrayal reared anew, not from foes, but fracture within. Eli twisted an ankle dodging a zealot. Grayson hoisting him to safety, but Jack vanished into the fray. Minutes later, sirens wailed. Grayson found him cuffed to a squad car. Buzz-cut cop grinning from the driver's seat. Resisting, the officer lied. But Jack's eyes met Grayson's, calm. Commanding. Get the lawyer. This is bullshit. There was planted evidence. A grudge from the block party. The department's rot festering. Alex's shadow? But the cop's vendetta. Amplified by internal homophobes who'd sniffed weakness in Jack's soft spot. The arrest hit like a gut shot. Grayson bailed him out at dawn. Precinct reeking of bleach and broken men. Jack emerged. Lip split, but unbroken. Knew they'd try something. Called my old CO, Feds are coming. Eli, limping but fierce, hugged Grayson tight. We're in this. The climax crested that week, a press conference Grayson organized. Vets and allies packing the steps. The pin a microphone for truth. My dad's a hero, Grayson said. Voice amplified. Tears streaking. Fought for this country. Now fightin' its shadows. For me. For us. Cameras flashed. Stories broke, Jack's service. The cops' abuses. A reckoning. Federal suits descended. Badges stripped. The department hemorrhaging trust. Jack walked free. Charges evaporated. But the toll lingered, nights of silence. Jack staring at walls. PTSD's claws unsheathed. Grayson nursed him with Eli's help. Soup and stories. Love's labor humanistic and hard. You saved me twice, Jack rasped one night. Hand on Grayson's. Now let me save you from thinkin' you're alone. Reconciliation bloomed slow. Weeds of regret yielding to roots. Fall painted Nashville gold. Leaves crunching under boots as Grayson and Eli scouted venues. A courthouse wedding. Simple. With Jack officiating via Jag creds. Vows. Jack prompted at the rehearsal. Eyes twinkling. Grayson grinned. Pulling Eli close. To build. To fight. To love loud. The ceremony was small, that's. Barflies. Rainbow kin, ending in a kiss under oaks. Jack's toast slurring proud. To sons and the fathers they make us. Betrayal's scars faded. Not gone but graced. A story American as apple pie and protest marches. Dramatic hearts. Emotional men's. Romantic fires banked in humanistic hearths. Winter wrapped Nashville in a rare frost. The Cumberland River icing at the edges like forgotten promises. Grayson's life post-Pride felt like exhale after a held breath, Eli's ring on his finger a constant hum. The youth center opening with a ribbon cut by a teary Grayson. Pin polished for the occasion. Jack had mellowed into grandfatherly quirks. Tinkering with a model Humvee in the bungalow. Regaling Eli with war tales sanitized for breakfast. Your boy's got my fire, he'd say. Winking at Grayson over pancakes. But beneath the domestic thaw. Undercurrents stirred, old wounds itching like phantom limbs. The betrayal's final echo came unbidden. In a manila envelope slipped under Grayson's apartment door one sleety morning. Inside, photos. Grainy but damning, Jack in a Berlin bar. 2005. Arm around a young soldier. Lips close. Then closer. A letter followed. Anonymous scrawl, your hero's got secrets. Ask him about Lucas. Grayson's stomach nodded. The pin suddenly heavy. Lucas? Jack's war stories skipped names like landmines. But this felt personal. A grenade lobbed from the past. He confronted Jack that night. Envelope trembling in hand. Eli at his side for ballast. Who is he? Jack's face drained. The model Humvee clattering to the floor. He sank into the porch swing. Breath fogging the chill air. Lucas Klein. German interpreter. My unit in Iraq '03. Saved my ass in Fallujah. Took shrapnel pullin' me from a blast. We were more than brothers in arms. The confession spilled halting, stolen nights in bunkers. Love forged in foxholes. Lucas's laugh a lifeline amid the screams. He was the one who made me see, hidin' wasn't survivin'. But then the IED. Lost him. Buried him in Dover. Honors. 'Cause brass called it fraternization. Came home a ghost after that. Your letter? It ripped the scab. Saw myself in you, lovin', fierce. Losin' hard. Grayson reeled. The pin's rainbow fracturing in his vision. Betrayal. But not malice. Jack's silence a shield. Not shame. Why hide it? From me? From Mom. Jack's eyes, red-rimmed, met his. Thought it made me weak. Special forces don't break. But losin' Lucas? Broke me clean. Your mom knew, last letter she wrote. Forgiven me for the cheatin'. Sin, love's not a vice. It's the virtue. Died before I could say sorry. Eli squeezed Grayson's hand. His own grief for lost fathers a silent bridge. The drama peaked in tears. Father embracing son on the frostbitten porch. Regrets thawing into truths. Spring brought renewal. The youth center thriving, Grayson leading workshops on owning your story. Pin a badge for the kids with eyes like his younger self. Eli's designs won bids. Their home a fixer-upper in East Nashville. Walls echoing with laughter and late-night blueprints. Jack moved closer. A tiny airstream in the yard, for when y'all need space from the old man. Romance with Eli deepened into domestic poetry, shared shifts at the bar. Eli's sketches of their future kids pinned to the fridge. Nights where love was verb. Not victory. But climax loomed in subtlety. A letter from the army, gold embossed, inviting Jack to a quiet ceremony at Fort Campbell. Revisions, it read cryptically. Grayson drove him, Eli in tow, the base's gates swallowing them like memory. In a nondescript hall, brass and banners, a general pinned a posthumous medal, not for Jack, but Lucas, for valor, and the loves that fueled it. Jack's hand shook accepting the proxy, voice cracking in eulogy, he was my compass. Taught me courage ain't just bullets, it's beyond seen. Grayson stood tall, pin glinting under fluorescence, the room's silence a collective exhale. Vets nodded, some with their own pins emerging from pockets. A ripple of rainbows in olive drab. The drive home was cathartic. Windows down. Wind whipping confessions. You were right, Jack said, glancing back at Grayson. Stand and all. Always were. Eli grinned from the passenger seat. Family tradition. Back in Nashville. They toasted at the Bluebird, crowd toasting back. The bar's jukebox crooning KD. Blink. Betrayal transmuted, not end, but evolution. Jack's secret a chapter adding depth to their saga. Summer swelled again. Pride a victory lap. But Grayson chose quiet, a river picnic. Just the three, Jack fishing, Eli sketching, Grayson strumming guitar riffs from boyhood. What's next? Eli asked. Head on Grayson's lap. More of this. Jack reeled in a bass. Gruff. And grandkids. Don't make me wait forever. Laughter echoed. Humanistic heart of it all. Men mending in America's messy grace. Pins and patches woven into one tapestry. Years folded like accordions. Nashville's skyline spiking higher. The youth center a beacon. Grayson and Eli adopted, twin boys with Jack's eyes and Eli's curls, naming one Lucas, the other a nod to Mom. Jack doted. Airstream a playhouse, teaching them knots and stories sanitized sweet. The pin stayed, passed to the boys for dress-up, the heirloom of heart. On a crisp autumn eve, Jack passed quiet, in his sleep, Airstream warm. A half-finished model beside him. Grayson found the note. Proud, don't cover it. Love you fierce. See you on the other side, rainbow and all. Funeral was riverside. Vets in rainbow sashes. Eulogies blending bullets and ballots. Grayson spoke last. Voice steady. He fought the wars outside. Then the one within. Taught me love's the real special forces. In the afterglow, Grayson and Eli raised glasses to stars. Boys asleep in arms. Betrayal's arc bent to beauty, dramatic falls to romantic rises. Emotional tempests to humanistic harbors. America's story, flawed and fierce, a father's return, a son's stand, loves that mock the mockers. And in that, redemption, rainbow bright. Decades distilled Nashville's changes into a patina of progress, the Bluebird now a landmark. Its walls etched with donor plaques, Grayson's name among them for the Ellis Wing Youth Lounge. At 58, Grayson ran the center full-time. Silver threading his hair. The rainbow pin retired to a shadow box beside Jack's medals and Lucas's photo. Eli, carpenter turned architect, designed expansions, their hands still intertwining over blueprints like vows renewed. The twins, now teens, Lucas with a sketchpad, Mom's firecracker with a guitar, navigated high school with pins of their own. Grayson's lectures on owning the fight, their armor. But memory's tide pulls relentless, and betrayal's ghost resurfaced in fragments. A documentary crew knocking for the Rainbow Ranger, Jack Ellis's legacy, digging for drama in the dirt. They unearthed Alex, grayed and regretful and spinning yarns of misunderstood youth that twisted their split into Grayson's instability. He punched first, Alex claimed on camera. Old wounds reopening like poorly stitched gashes. The crew pressed Grayson, conflict sells. Give us the raw, your dad's, secrets, the alley brawl. Grayson demurred. But doubt crept, had he sanitized too much? Owed the world the mess? Eli sensed it. Pulling him to their porch swing, Jack's old haunt. Creaks a lullaby. Truth ain't betrayal. It's bridge. Their love season now was the steady burn, anniversaries in Gatlinburg. Still moonshine kissed, mornings with coffee and crosswords. Eli's 7 letters. Endure, Ariel. Romance endured. Humanistic in its humility, teaching the boys to love without armor. To fight with words first. The climax crested at the doc premiere. A Nashville film fest under twinkling lights. Grayson attended solo. Eli minding the boys. Pin in pocket like talisman. Alex was there. Schmoozing. Eyes widening at Grayson. Water under the bridge? Alex ventured. Smile oily. Lgbtq. Bridge held. You. Alex faltered. Mumbling of therapy. Amends unpaid. The film rolled, raw cuts of the alley. Jack's voice booming, he's my son, intercut with Lucas's letters. Read by actors but voiced by Jack's ghost. Tears flowed. Applause thundered. But the Q&A turned, a vet's widow. Voice quavering. Did he ever regret? The Haydn? Grayson took the mic. Heartful. Regret? Yeah. But it made him. Made us. Betrayal ain't the end, it's the forge. Alex slunk out midway. A shadow banished. Post-screening. Grayson found Eli waiting. Boys in tow. Hugs a chorus. Proud, Lucas whispered. Pin glinting on his backpack. Legacy bloomed quiet after. The doc sparked donations. The center expanding to rural outposts. Grayson's workshops virtual now. Reaching boys in Bible Belt basements. Eli and he traveled, national parks, where love was hikes and handholds, rainbows and canyons. The boys came out fluid, one non-binary, the other bi, Grayson nodding. Your story, your stand, Jack's Airstream, museum piece at the center, tours ending with his note, Love Fierce. On their 35th anniversary, Grayson and Eli renewed vows riverside, boys officiating, Nashville's skyline a witness. To more, Eli said, ring slipping smooth. Grayson kissed him slow, pin, worn again, catching sun. Betrayal's arc. One sharp, curve gentle, drama to depth, emotion to empathy, romance to roots, all humanly woven. In twilight years, Grayson penned the book, Pin and Bayonet, A Father's Fight, not for fame, but mending. Pages chronicled the alley, the secrets, the stands, epilogue a letter to Jack. You came back. That's the hook that held. Readers wrote, sons reconciled, lovers uncloseted, echoes of grace. Grayson passed at 79. Heart-giving mid-workshop. Pin on lapel. Eulogy by Lucas. He wore the rainbow so we wouldn't have to hide ours. Eli followed soon. Hand in hand eternal. The center endures. Nashville's heart. Where stories start with hooks and end in harbors, American is all. Fierce and free.